Okay, Shalom Akim, Kal Halaim La Yahaba Shem Yahshua Bashan Kudash. I want some more double honest agreements on apostles. Thadi Yahshua for the strength in order to make this video. And Yaratazar, that this also helps to open your eyes, man. When it comes to specifically, in terms of speckled bird, man, as I named this video, that which is part of the doctrine. We're going to get precepts upon that, man. So the point is of the speckled bird, as I named the video, speckled bird. Unlearn seeing physically and see deeper spiritually. So at the end of the day, it's not just the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians in terms of their physical appearance that are Israelites, but you could have an Israelite of whom actually looks like this, like a so-called, white woman or a white man. You could have an Israelite that looks like an Ishmaelite, a so-called Arab. You could also have an Israelite that looks like a Moabite, an Ammonite, Moabite being the Chinese, the Ammonite being the Japanese. You could have an Israelite looking like anyone, man. All you need to do, really, for those of us who have spiritual eyes, is discern whether they've got those character traits. Typically, they'll be cleaner, because obviously Jake is a clean people. They like things, of course, they're up in their hygiene, we could say that, man. Obviously, you got the occasional demons, but point is, Jake in general is a clean people, so that's one of the traits there. As well as certain character traits, because remember, we're the salt of the earth, man. So they'll have an interesting trait about themselves. But anyways, let's play this video. Then I'm gonna bring out some precepts, and that's really going to be the point, man. So the point of this video really is to show you that an Israelite can be in the appearance of a heathen. You could have an Israelite spirit in a heathen's body, or a heathen looking body, I could say. So let's play this video, and I'm probably gonna play another video on this channel, called Biracial Voices, because I checked it out. And it's pretty much just about, people, a whole load of speckled birds, and mixed race, so-called mixed race people, which really you are your father's seed. So we can get, even before that, let's get on that, because there ain't no such there's no such thing as a mixed race, man. Let's get to it. So this is Numbers 1 and 18. Let me read from verse 17. So it says, and Moses and Aaron took these men which are expressed by their names, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So of course you are your father's seed. You come from your father. Whoever your father is, that's what you that's where you descend from. So that's really the point there. Numbers 1 and 18. So the fathers, that's why I said there's no such thing as a mixed race, man. You are your father's seed. Whatever descendant that your father's from, that's where you are from. Now let's get to it. I am half black. My biological father is African American. I'm gonna break it down for you because I know what you're thinking. This girl is insane. There's no way. She has green eyes, very light skin, and blonde hair. Like, there's no way. Growing up as a kid, I always got, that's your stepdad, you must be adopted. This video is honestly for educational purposes, to just let you know, like, people can look like me and be mixed. So let me break it down and show you my parents. Alrighty, here is me and my dad. This is my dad, his name is Lance. Here's another photo, it's kind of blurry, but yes, he raised me my entire life from when I came out the womb. Here is another photo of us when I was younger. And this is my mom, so I definitely took after, like, her skin tone, her hair. I'm looking like a weird-ass little baby in this pic, but this is my mom, again. Here is her when she was in her teenage years. So yeah, those are... I am half black, my biological... Yeah, so you can see right there, man, you saw the father right there. Obviously, he himself being so-called mixed race, so he was light-skinned, and then, combine it with a woman who looks like a Edom, man. Who knows, maybe even the wife could be a Jake as well. Only the Most High would I say only the most, but yeah, the point is, the Most High knows whether the woman be a Jake. It could be a Jake also, man. An Israelite woman. But anyways, point being is, you had the so-called Edomite looking wife, so a wife that looked like a so-called white woman, and you had the Jake over there that was a mixed race, man. Combine that, and then you have her. So of course, out here when you see these people walking about, people who may look like heathens actually could be Israelites, man. And of course, certain traits, such as compassion, certain Jake traits, obviously high in hygiene as well, and just the typical Jake traits, as I said, compassion, things that are interesting about them, salt of the earth, remember, could be quite skillful, intelligent, and whatnot. But the point is, these traits of Jake, you tend to see them with these speckled bird as well. And speaking of speckled bird, I may as well get the preset right here. Jeremiah 12 and verse 9. It says, "Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour." So, as it says, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. And speckled birds, there's actually different types. There's actually two ways you can perceive this too, man. One way, there's different types of speckled birds. Speckled birds just means that they got dots on their feathers. Just search up in fact. In fact, let's just do it right now. Right now, man. Let's do it. Speckled birds. Give me some good images, man. So yeah, you got speckled bird. This one has spots. You can see right here, it's got spots. So that's what I mean by speckled. You got this one right here, another type of speckled bird. Somewhat similar, but this one has darker spots than the previous one, which was this one. Or maybe they have both. But the point is that they're still both different, man. Even if it's in a minute way. Speckled bird again. Let's see some other ones. So you got this one. The thing is, even the dots themselves are different, man. But they're all part of the same body, ain't it? Another speckled bird. It's got all these dots on its feathers. So there's different types of speckled bird, man. Let's see some more. You got this one that has the greenish and golden dots. Hold on. Yep. All sorts of speckled bird out there. Those dots are like the tips of the feathers as well. So it says mine heritage is as a speckled bird. And you got this one too. This one has a more so like a black or dark, very dark black belly with white dots as well on its feathers. So there's different types of speckled bird out there, man. I know I keep repeating the same point, but I'm just trying to get the emphasis out there. So Jeremiah 12 and 9, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. That represents the other nations as well, man. Going against the bird, of course, representing Israel, the speckled bird. Because, speckled bird, there's different types of speckled bird. But even when you look deeper into the speckled bird, each dot is different. Each tip of the feather is different somehow. As it goes across the whole body. Not every dot is the same thing. So you can liken that as each dot as because each dot belongs to one body. If each dot is different, you can liken it as onto these Israelites that are in heathen bodies. But despite that, they all have Israelite spirits. They're all part of the nation of Israel. So that's one perspective. But of course, the main one really is that there's different types of speckled bird. So the Most High, of course, can have a Israelite in a heathen body. So just that's the point. That's the meaning of this verse right here. So it says, "Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour." So of course the other nations are against Israelites too. Why do you think that even in certain sects of society, such as the Afro-Latinos, I said Afro-Latinos, Well, yeah, that's really just Jake amongst Jake anyway. Jake versus Jake in terms of the curses. Thine eye shall be evil towards thy brother. Deuteronomy 28, I think verse 54. But yeah, the point is, that's why the Afro-Latino community is separate from the lighter skin Latino community, man. And you got even not just that alone, but even certain groups of other countries, that are actually Jakes, would be separate from the actual heathens, man. So you could have heathens, actual heathens, and Israelites who are in heathens' bodies, and them two just don't mix. So the spirit exactly because the spirits, they don't match, man. They don't vibe with each other. For a way to say that, they don't vibe with each other. So, you're not in sync. You don't connect with each other. The spirits don't connect. Heathens and Jake, man. That's why we're separate. All right, so let's get this one. That's why it says here in Romans 8 and 16, the spirit beareth witness. That's why you go observe the spirit. As I named the video. See deeper spiritually. Unlearn seeing physically and see deeper spiritually. Now, I don't mean that we shouldn't trust our eyes. It's just that most of the times, especially in the times that we're coming into right now, with all that's going on, in the news with really, it's all sedition among men. That's the way to summarize it. You're gonna need a spiritual eye to discern, what actions to take, man. Which really that spiritual eye is enhanced, is refined through the scriptures, which is the Holy Bible. So Romans 8 and 16, the Spirit itself beareth witness. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. You see, so of course it's going to be evident that a certain heathen looking vessel. The reason why I emphasize looking, because that's the physical appearance you're seeing with your eyes now. A certain heathen looking vessel could be an actual Israelite, man, because you can see it in their spirits, and normally you could tell because they tend to hang around Israelites as well, man. I remember in school as well where thing, man. So you got certain Jakes. I say certain Jakes, but yeah, they are Jakes, really. Certain speckled birds, to be more specific, that hang around Jake, man. So-called speckled bird men, speckled bird women that hang around so-called Israel. Well, I say so-called. Well, yeah, so-called black women, Israelite women, or that hang around so-called black men. Those so-called white people. I know I keep saying so-called, but that's the point, because those white, black are the wrong labels. That's why I keep saying so-called. So the point is, these heathen looking people, you could have a so-called white man that's hanging around Jake, but he's actually Jake as well. That's why he vibes well, man. I remember Speckled Bird back in secondary school, man. He's definitely Jake, man. In terms of and he had talent as well, man. He had talent in terms of writing poems, rapping as well as he had style. He had style, man. He had style for sure. He definitely had shot. He definitely had salt, man. So that's another example of Speckled Bird. I think there was also another one too. Yeah, man. So there's a lot. They're out there. They're out there. So the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. So let's get an example, a clear-cut example of a speckled bird. Let's see. Hold on, let me check, because I won't read the whole chapter, but just to get to the point. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, you're up to probably about verse 35. So I'll start from verse 1. Acts 10 and 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. So he was in the so-called Roman army, the army of that time. Italian band is a certain sect of the army. You could liken that on to as I just said, certain section of the army, man, just to keep things simple. So a devout man, and one that feared the Most High Yahweh with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always. So it says he saw in a vision, evidently, about the 9th hour. I remember the fact that he does this, by the way. He said he gave much alms to the people and he prayed to the Most High always, which is one of the traits of Jake, man. Despite Jake praying to idols, Christianity, Islam being the predominant ones, they still have a zeal, man, but it's not according to knowledge. Let's get down quickly. Yeah, it's not according to knowledge, man. So Romans 10:2, for I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, but not according to knowledge. So it's not at all according to the knowledge of the scriptures, man, where they'd be worshipping Yahweh or Yahushua, but they're not. They're worshipping idols. Hence why it's not according to knowledge. But anyways, so it says, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always. It says he saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of the Most High coming into him, and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms are come up from memorial before the Most High. So of course, all that praying and the giving much of alms, he was being heard of the Most High, man. Yahweh was hearing it. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua was hearing it, because of course Yahushua was still there in the spirit anyways. So it says, and now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon Peter. So he received instructions from the angel. So it says, for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside, and he shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. So, and by the way, there were two namesakes living together. They were roommates. Simon here, whose surname was Peter. That's why they call him Simon Peter. And you had another Simon. It says, as he's called, Simon the tanner, which really a tanner, in terms of their job role, is one who uses animal skin to make clothes. So, they were both roommates. So they were, that was it. They were roommates, and, they were looking after each other. So whose house is by the seaside, he shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called 2 of his household servants, and a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. And when he had declared all these things unto him, he sent them to Joppa. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance. So whilst he was waiting for the meal, or whilst he prepared, I would say, he probably dozed off, man, into some sleep. But anyways, and this is what happened when he fell into that trance. It says, and saw heaven opened, and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of 4-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. And Peter said, Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spake unto him again 2nd time, What the Most High hath cleansed, that call not thou common. This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. It says, now while Peter doubted him, so that vessel, when it says vessel received up into heaven, it was, I believe it was a chariot, man. In verse 16 and also in verse 11 here, where it says, a certain vessel descending onto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners and let down to earth. So that was the shape of the chariot, man. Imagine a sheet, a blanket, and then it was knitted at the 4 corners. That was the shape of it. That was the best way you could describe it. So verse 12, so verse 11 was a chariot, the vessel descending from heaven and descending up to heaven. So anyways, let's see. So verse 12, wherein, I just read this. Let's see. So verse 16 again, then this was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate, and called and asked whether Simon which I was saying they were roommates, but rather I should say they were housemates. Simon Peter and Simon the tanner, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, Behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise and get thee down and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. So just accept their arrival, and follow him. So then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, Behold, I am he whom ye seek. What is the cause wherefore ye are come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, and one that feareth the Most High, and of good report among all the nation of the Jews, was warned from the Most High by a holy angel, to send for thee into his house and hear words of thee. And then called he them in and lodged them. And on the morrow Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. So verse 24, and the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and had called together his kinsmen and near friends. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him, and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I am myself also am a man. So it's that calm down, I'm also a man. Relax. Which is true. So verse 27, he's a man, but of course with spiritually favored of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So verse 27, and as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, Ye know how that it is unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But the Most High hath shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So that showed you right there, physically, Cornelius looks like a heathen. Probably like a so-called Edomite. So-called white man. He probably looked like an Edomite. That's why Peter had this initial reaction where he said, ye know how that is unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew, which really Jew goes back to Judah, representing southern tribe, but you can see as also Israelites as well, to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But the Most High hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So don't just, Peter was pretty much saying that the Most High told her, don't just call anyone, that's a heathen. You got to spiritually look deeper first before you then discern, all right, this guy's either Jake or he's a heathen, man. That was the meaning. That was the meaning of that dream, here where it says, from verse 13, and there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. And Peter said, Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spake unto him again the second time, What the Most High hath cleansed, that call not thou common, man. So that was referring to, this was a metaphor. The common or unclean thing that he was told to kill and eat was a metaphor for Cornelius, a metaphor for a so-called speckled bird. But the thing is, where it says what the Most High hath cleansed, that call not thou common. So of course these, despite him being physically in appearance, looking like a heathen, spiritually he a Jake, man. And of course the signs were there. I'm gonna show you, because he was, first of all, in the first verse, in the second verse, he says a devout man, one that feared the Most High. You ain't gonna see a heathen fear the Most High, no. Obviously Ishmael, they got their lot, but that they're in idolatry anyways. But the point is, heathens, specifically Edomites, because remember this was the Italian band, centurion in the Roman Empire. It says, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always. You ain't gonna see a heathen praying to the Most High and giving alms. Again, these are traits of Jake: compassion, giving, wanted to support people, and praying to the Most High. Remember, zeal, but not according to knowledge in the modern day sense. So these were traits, man. There's also another trait as well. So going back to verse 29 now. Therefore came I unto you without gainsaying, as soon as I was sent for. I asked therefore For what intent ye have sent for me. So of course Peter was saying, he held his tongue. He didn't want to judge too early. And that's what he was saying. So he was like, all right, say what you want to say. Verse 30, and Cornelius said, 4 days ago, I was fasting until this hour. At the 9th hour, I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing. So an angel. So you ain't going to see a heathen fast for spiritual reasons, man. You ain't going to see a heathen fast, man, typically. Most heathens don't even fast anyways, but you ain't going to see a heathen fast for spiritual purposes, man. Which really be fast to get closer and to have a stronger connection with Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. So at the 9th hour, I prayed in my house. And so he was practically doing a 4-day fast, man. Because it says 4 days ago, I was fasting until this hour. So, he was doing a 4-day fast. So that's another trait that shows you that Cornelius was a Jake, man. Cornelius is a Jake. So it says, and said Cornelius, thy prayer is heard, and thine alms are had in remembrance in the sight of the Most High. So the Most High seen all his good deeds, man. His fastings, his prayings, his alms, which are just donations to those in need. And verse 32 now. Send therefore to Joppa, and call hither Simon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodged in the house of one Simon, a tanner by the seaside, who when he cometh shall speak unto thee. Immediately therefore I sent thee, and thou hast well done that thou art come. Now therefore are we all here present before the Most High to hear all things that are commanded thee of the Most High, man. Really, just let me finish with the 2 verses here. So then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that the Most High is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted of him. And that's a very strong trait to know that whether a heathen is a speckled bird, if they fear the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. Obviously in ignorance, they call him God. They call on the idol Jesus Christ. But the point is they have a zeal, for the Most High, man. So that's most likely another sign that they are a speckled bird. Certain YouTubers out there, when they start speaking on, God and, discipline in the self-improvement section of YouTube, rather, certain of them are actually speckled bird, man. They're speckled bird. So Cornelius is an Israelite, man. That's the point. But he was in a heathen body, and verse 28 proves that again. So ye know that it is unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. So of course Cornelius looked like a so-called white man, or he had a heathen appearance. So, but the Most High hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So of course, don't just say this guy's a heathen, that guy's a heathen. No. See deeper spiritually, man. That's when you gotta dig deep. Inside joke there. But yeah, but in every nation he that feareth him, verse 25, and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. And that's it. Cornelius is a major example of an Israelite, man. So this idea here was is true, man. It's true. This is just the modern day example of that, man. So before that, let's get another example. This is going to be quite the lesson here. Yeah, this is the example of the Ethiopian eunuch. I'm trying to remember what verse that I marked again. Let me just put this in and see what's up. Maybe it's 24. Yeah. Actually, 25. I thought the shy. So I'm gonna start from 25 and let's see. Yeah, probably read up to verse 40. So this is another example of an Israelite, I believe, also. So Acts 8 and 24. Then actually, hold on. Start from verse 25. Acts 8 and 25. And they, when they had testified and preached the word of the Lord Yahweh, B'Shem Yahushua returned to Jerusalem and preached the gospel in many villages of the Samaritans, And the angel of the Lord spake unto Philip, saying, Arise and go toward the south unto the way that goeth down from Jerusalem unto Gaza, which is a desert. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, an eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had charge of all her treasure and had come to Jerusalem to worship. So it says, was returning and sitting in his chariot and read Isaiah the prophet, so Isaiah the prophet. And the Spirit said unto Philip, Go near and join thyself to this chariot. And Philip ran thither to him and heard him read the prophet Isaiah, and said, Understandest thou what thou readest? And he said, How can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. A place of the scripture which he read was this: He was led as a sheep to the slaughter, and like a lamb dumb before his shearer. So opened he not his mouth. In his humiliation his judgment was taken away. And who shall declare his generation? For his life is taken from the earth. It says, And the eunuch answered Philip and said, I pray thee, of whom speaketh the prophet this? Of himself or of some other man? So who's he talking about? Then Philip opened his mouth and began at the same scripture and preached unto him Yahushua. And as they went on their way, they came unto a certain water, and the eunuch said, See, here is water. What doth hinder me to be baptized? So he was the Ethiopian eunuch was willing to be baptized, man. And Philip said, If thou believest with all thine heart, thou mayest. And he answered and said, I believe that Yahushua HaMashiach is the Son of the Most High. And he commanded the chariot to stand still, and they went down both into the water, both Philip and the eunuch, and he baptized him. And when they were come up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord Yahweh caught away Philip, that the eunuch saw him no more. And he went on his way rejoicing, but Philip was found at Azotus, and passing through he preached in all the cities till he came to Caesarea. So of course, as it says there, this was an Ethiopian eunuch. It says a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch, and of a great authority under Candace, queen of Ethiopians, man. So this may as well, it could have been Speckled Bird, because I'm reading it now and then I'm realizing either it was Yaratas. I need to ask about this, man. Ask the elder brothers about this, man. Because either he was a Speckled Bird, as a man of Ethiopia, or it could have been a Jake, just in a high authority amongst the Ethiopians, like a genuine Jake-looking guy, So that's really the point there, man. So either he was Speckled Bird, that's Ethiopia, that was looking like one of the Ethiopians, or he was actual Jake. But the point is, the downright 100% example of a Speckled Bird is Acts 10, with Cornelius, man. So that's the major example. But he was taught, man, by Philip. This Ethiopian eunuch was taught by Philip, and of course he was baptized by Philip as well. And of course the Most High ain't gonna just baptize anyone. You baptize the Israelites, man, not some random heathen. So yeah. Anyways, man, that's really the point. Let's see. Because remember, Most High ain't gonna baptize anyone. Let's get this final precept and I'm gonna close it out. So Matthew 7 and verse, hold up. Actually, it's looking right at me. So it's Matthew 7 and 6. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. So of course, the dogs can represent, of course, Israelites, of whom are, really wicked Israelites, who are not in this doctrine as well. Neither cast ye your pearls before swine, man. So that's what it represents. You could also perceive it as casting your knowledge, of the scriptures onto heathens, man, because they ain't no point. They're like dogs, they're like swine. Especially considering that they eat that shit as well. Moab into the dogs, you got Edom into the swine. But anyways, that's the point, man. So the Ethiopian eunuch would have not been baptized if he wasn't an Israelite. So now, as I said before, either he was an actual speckled bird where he looked on the outside as an Ethiopian eunuch, or, he was an actual Israelite, man. So let's see that again. Hold on, let me see this. Because remember, Philip was commanded to go to this area, man. As it says in verse 26, and the angel of the Lord spake unto Philip, saying, Arise and go towards the south, unto the way that goeth down from Jerusalem unto Gaza, which is desert. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, an eunuch, of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had charge over all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem to worship, man. Which really Israelites do that typically anyways, man. But anyways, Yaratazar, I gotta ask elder brothers about that. But anyways, yeah, man, let me play this video again. But the point is, speckled birds exists. So let me play this now one more time, and then we're gonna close it out.
I am half black. My biological father is African American. I'm gonna break it down for you because I know what you're thinking. This girl is insane. There's no way. She has green eyes, very light skin, and blonde hair. Like, there's no way. Growing up as a kid, I always got, that's your stepdad, you must be adopted. This video is honestly for educational purposes to just let you know, like, people can look like me and be mixed. So let me break it down and show you my parents. Alrighty, here is me and my dad. This is my dad. His name is Lance. Here's another photo. It's kind of blurry, but yes, he raised me my entire life from when I came out the womb. Here is another photo of us when I was younger. And this is my mom, so I definitely took after, like, her skin tone, her hair. I'm looking like a weird-ass little baby in this pic, but this is my mom, again. Here is her when she was in her teenage years. So yeah, those are... I am half black. My biological father is African American.
Sometimes the phone could be quite slow, man. So yeah, man, she even got backlash as well from probably Jake, the so-called Israelite woman, saying like, you ain't black, you white, man. Let's play this one.
Oh no, y'all. Your girl Sunny made it to the internet. So obviously everybody knows by now, I went viral a couple times for sharing my story about being biracial. And a year ago, an article was made about me. Somebody wrote a little article, and it's honestly one of the craziest things I've ever read. I never talked about this article online because it's just absolutely ridiculous. Alrighty, guys, here is the article. Yes, I am half black. Woman faces online side-eye for calling herself biracial after that reparations money. This is the most ridiculous part. Homegirl couldn't even get my name right. Monica, aka Summer Basil, poses next to her biological father. First of all, who is Monica? Who? Who is Monica? Since when is my name Monica? Like, literally, who's Monica? Who? Because I don't know a Monica. Do you know a Monica? Monica, aka Summer Basil, is a sun-kissed blonde with green eyes who says she is often criticized by black women. But Monica's followers argue that she is simply making a case for reparations in California. Crazy you say that, love. The most embarrassing part of it all is when my dad FaceTimed me because he found this article first. I literally had to ask him what a reparations check was because my dumbass didn't even know. So apparently I was after that money, but I didn't even know it. But the funniest part is, I don't think I received one comment from all the comments and all the smack that people were talking. I did not receive one comment saying, oh, she's after that reparations check. Not one. Literally not one. Simply trying to prove African American roots to get a reparations check should further legislation allow the money to be distributed. Just to let y'all know, I didn't get that check. Literally, who wrote this? Like, some of Monica's, once again. Hey, Monica. Nice to meet you. Don't believe that she is half black. One wrote, you're literally only like 10% black. I've heard it all, baby. I've heard 1%, 2%, 3%. Apparently everybody knows who I am and everybody has tested my DNA. Another posted, people think they understand genetics and they don't. LOL, if your dad is black, then you're half black. End of discussion. Thank you, baby girl. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all I got for you today, guys. I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, so you know the point, man. You know the point. Speckled birds are real. And they may be in a show that is that looks like a heathen, man. An Israelite that looks like a heathen. These are actually real concepts, real ideas. They exist. Just gotta discern them in their spirit and using the scriptures. But yeah, Shalom.
I am half black.
Yah Bashim Yashar Brakatha. I'm gonna end off there. Shalom.